Why, hello, hi. It is me, it is I, small town Didi, your Khadi, and these here internet and akastra. Hello, yala. I'm back. Green tea in hand. Not a regular green tea. You guys know I struggle with stuff, so I don't mean to trigger anybody, but I had a little piece of cake and I'm feeling rather bad about it. So I'm having this green tea to flush it out. And that is not good. It's not good. I know it's not good. And I'm only sharing it because, well, I know I'm not alone, and I want somebody to know that. Anyway, that's not why we're back on here, the internet. I saved Paniel's video, Paniel the black pen, on here. If you're not familiar with him, he's the guy who says he's no longer Zulu. Like literally, if you search, because I wouldn't remember his name. So I'd always have to search his name. So then I would have to go and Google and be like, and I would type, I'm no longer Zulu, and then he'd come up. Oh my god, Panuel the black pen, and I hope Panuel. Anyway, I'm probably saying his name wrong. I say it wrong all the time, and no, I'm not proud of it. But anyway, he hosted or facilitated a debate between an Ike somebody and a Rutando somebody. I'm familiar with both people from just consuming content around this area. And they were chatting, the conversation or the debate rather was on xenophobia or the stigma that we've garnered as South Africans as a xenophobic bunch. And I was disappointed. Pena wasn't contributing. He was literally a moderator. He was a facilitator. He wasn't adding his piece to it. So I have nothing to say to him. Just the two gents who are going back and forth. I hated the entire thing. Not worth a watch if you are looking for people to have conversations rooted in reality. It's two people. Is it Rutando? Am I saying it wrong? For the life of me, I don't know. But his argument, it's like, guys, we're going through a lot right now. The problems are right now. I love a good history buff because I don't do the reading much because I would rather listen to the reading. I don't know how to explain that. But I love that you know your history, right? I'm of the view that a lot of South Africans actually, we don't know our history because it's washed in schools in order to maintain the fallacy that is the Rainbow Nation. We often don't get taught how we got here because then we'd have too many questions, right? We know the surface level, the cute shit that they want us to know. So I can always appreciate when somebody has done the work to immerse themselves in the history of like the politics of the continent at large, and the continent in parts and how we relate to each other as neighboring countries and things like that. I love that. I enjoy that. But if you're gonna have a conversation on xenophobia and the entire conversation is just you talking about, and I felt Paniel trying to inject now into the conversation, and he was struggling to bring them into the now. I also believe he made the mistake of not having a cap, like a time cap of you are assigned like a debate. Like you have 3 minutes to do your intro, you have 3 minutes to do your intro, and then we're gonna talk this point next, and then we're gonna talk that point next. Because then what we had was people just going off on tangents on like what happened in 80, whatever, and these the people who were fighting for SA's democracy, who were exiled, were now in that and it was like yo, the xenophobia shit is now, like it's happening now. And the people who are being labeled xenophobic are often people who aren't immersed in these conversations because their everyday lives, their bread and butter issues don't allow them to sit on these stages and have like these conversations with the nice big English talking rubbish when real life says they do not have the fear of the people who look like them. There is a scrambling of resources on the ground. And instead of naming it that, we've decided to demonize, right, and even criminalize to a degree the South Africans who aren't so-called middle class. because that's what I believe has happened, right? A lot has happened. Let me not reduce it to that. We do, to a degree, walk around on the continent at large with like internalized anti-blackness, right? Anti-Africanness about us because white supremacy is pervasive. The agenda has won. We function largely in a white supremacist society, and the ideals of that structure don't feed us goodness about ourselves. So we take that out on each other. We internalize stereotypes and nasty things about each other. When I meet another person from a different part of the continent and I have all these stereotypes about them in my head, but also even as a South African, just to the next black South African, it's pervasive and we can't get away from it. But in terms of the issue of xenophobia in South Africa, what I've seen transpire every time we've had a flare up of so-called xenophobic attacks. And I think it's because the definition has the word fear in it, right? It's fear of, right? Like homophobia is fear of, right? So there's a fear of African people, or rather, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an unfounded fear, but it's irrational. It's an irrational fear. It's not rooted in anything real. Like the fear cannot be justified. There's nothing to substantiate why you should be that fearful that you're not acting out in this violent manner. And we've reduced it to that because we think it's cute. When we know deep down inside that I'm not fearful of the Zimbabwean person next to me. I'm not. What I may be is angry that this is my only home. It's the only home I have. I can't go any lower. This is the southernmost tip of this fucking continent. Okay, there's no more border for me to cross unless I get on a flight, which I probably can't afford. And these people have now come here and we're now scrambling for the little bit of resources that I am entitled to. Because that I'm born here. I am South African. This is it. I feel like there's like a lot of liberal privilege in when we talk about these things and wanting to label things xenophobia because we want to sound like we're so loving and so accepting and so this and so that, none of which is rooted in reality. There's a liberal privilege in doing these things and knowing that you're not the person that has to share that hospital bed with other people coming from other parts of the continent who are probably not even contributing to the country's economy that allows these resources to be available in the first place, right? You're not that person. You have your medical aid and you can go to your nice private clinic and give birth there far away from everybody else, where you are made to sleep on the floor because the illegal foreign national person is been given priority right now because they're in labor, right? And maybe you're just getting your little cramps now. Now you have to be on the floor. The maternity hospital in my township, or rather the hospital in my township, has a maternity ward. It's a reasonably sized one, but it services a very, very large area. And that's why I'm making this example. From what I understand, the ward could be a 48-bed ward or something, but it's not 50. It's somewhere in the 40s or something. But these are public numbers. If you can check how many births come out of that place and how much staff they have, I'm in Limpopo. And I'm not even in Messina, right? I'm a bit further out from there, and they still have this issue going on here, right? So when I saw the issues that happened with Poppy, the minister, is she the minister or the whatever of health in this province, earlier on in the year when she was like yelling at a Zimbabwean lady, I think it was in Messina, or whatever it is, and scolding her, telling her to like, why aren't they fixing things in their own country and stuff. That to me was not okay. This person is in labor, they're in distress. The constitution that your government negotiated, can you imagine negotiating freedom? Anyway, that the constitution that your government sat and wrote with their oppressors makes provision for this, right? You all decided that South Africa is for all who live in it, and the resources of this country will be shared because it sounded cute and liberal. The issue isn't, for me, that foreign nationals are coming here and doing whatever. It's that our laws are relaxed enough to allow for these things to happen, and therefore they can happen. And the people on the ground who don't have the means to not find themselves in these situations are having to scramble about with other people from the rest of our continent for these already thinned resources. And we're acting like they're just so hateful, they're anti-black, they're anti-African, and acting like literally it's a performance. The logic that needs to be suspended, all because you don't want your friend who's Nigerian, whom you went to school with, to look at you like crazy. Employ some fucking logic here. You don't need to look at me crazy. You know exactly what the fuck I'm saying. You know I don't hate you. You know for a fucking fact I don't hate you. Why are you acting? Like, what is this performance that we're doing? And this label, since the flare-ups and the scramble for these resources, and they always spike when something happens with the economy. The inflation acts crazy. People lose jobs. When people are in despair, the first thing they see in front of them is what they consider to be a foreign national. They're like, oh, you're responsible for all my problems. If you weren't here, I'd probably have a job. Not always the most rational argument, but you see how it happens, right? You do the math of how it happens. My dad and his friends, I've heard the conversations that they've had, and they make the same argument as the other guy on the other side of the island, this conversation where they talk about how, in as much as we speak about the fact that parts of the continent housed people who are fighting for our, who's texting me? People who are fighting for our freedom and what have you, they weren't housed in a similar fashion as what's happening here. People went there, they stayed in designated areas, what you could call camps, if you would like, and they were there for that reason to do that. They didn't necessarily take root in the fashion that other people have done here, right? The foreigners have done here. But that only happens because the laws allow it to happen. The laws need to change if this is the main issue that we're saying, that they get to come here, set up shop, right? Do whatever it is that they want to do, make the money they want to make and leave. And fuck up the communities that we live in and then leave. If that's the conversation, then the laws are the issues, because you can't set up shop if the law is saying that's not allowed. Do you see what I'm saying though? But I feel like we get a really bad rep around this. I found it interesting. Is it last year or earlier in the year? It may have been earlier in the year. The UAE set up what did they call? Oh, they put out a ban on 20 plus or give or take African countries that they couldn't travel to their part of the world anymore. And they didn't give an explanation. Unless they've given one now. They didn't give an explanation. They just put this out. And within a few hours, my TikTok was buzzing with Nigerian content creators in particular. Bahala de people. Nigerian content creators, after this ban happened, with no explanation, the ban just was put out there you all need to go, go. The Nigerian content creators who are quick to label us as South Africans as xenophobic when we're saying something were the first ones to get onto their TikTok accounts and start saying, oh, the problem is that when you guys get over there as Nigerians, you do this, and now you've made it hard for us to go over there. And some of the stuff they were saying are things that we complain about. But when we say it, we're being xenophobic. But when they were saying it, it was just, they're calling out their fellow brothers and sisters. So deep down inside, some of the concerns that we have, we all know these things are real, right? One of the arguments made in the debate was that there's certain crimes that we associate with certain people of certain nationalities. I don't know why we want to act cute around this. I really, I'm confused. I feel like because of how violent the xenophobic attacks got, we're now being muzzled. Like we're now being almost bullied to not say as South Africans that you guys are fucking moving mad in this country and we don't like it. Like because of that, because of the things that have transpired in the past, we now have to act like everything is okay. And if somebody says something, we must say, hey, you can't say that, it's dangerous and people get hurt doing this and people get hurt doing that. And like negating the fact that whole communities are experiencing a drug problem that was introduced by people who are not fucking from here. Like we must really just pretend with everybody, least we be labeled something. Are we for real right now? Are we for real? Now, what is the solution? Somebody suggested that people should just go back home. I think it's crazy that everybody has like their fucking chest out when it's time to call us xenophobic, but nobody's chest puffs out like quite like that when they must tell their leaders to get their shit together. You have a lot of lip when it's time to tell me to shut up about, oh, that's on this and that's on that, and not quite enough lip about how your politicians are fucking up. And that shit is weird. It's getting a little weird, don't you think? My entire chat here was just that it's a liberal take. It's a take from a very privileged position to be able to say, oh no, and it's literally, it's disgusting and it's dismissive of poor South Africans and like the experiences of the everyday South African who has to be on the ground, sharing the little bit of resources that they have, having these people who come with criminal intent into their communities who aren't even from here, knowing that nothing is going to get done about it. That state of helplessness leads to the flare-ups that we see, that we want to label xenophobia when we know that that's not what this is. We live with plenty of people and we're not in fear of them. And the people who are doing right in the community, when these flare-ups happen, we're the first to protect them. We're the first to say, not fucking this one, you better watch yourself. So what are you talking about? What are you guys even talking about that we're xenophobic? Like, where'd you get that? Anyway, that's that. That's my chat. It's really heartbreaking to me. Like, and I hear of the treatment that we get when we travel on the continent, which is heartbreaking to me because I remember watching, and I think I've shared this with you guys. My best friend and I think we were probably 11, 12, 13, somewhere in that age group. I can't remember when it came on. I just know it was like grade 5, 6, or 7, okay? Okay. Precious Coffee, or Precious, I don't know how you pronounce her surname, but she had this show, and she has a YouTube channel now. She had this show, it was called Precious Africa, and she traveled parts of the continent, and my best friend and I have been wanting, from the age of fucking 11, you hear me, have been wanting to see our continent and explore it and have fun and meet people who look like us but come from different places and have different stories to tell. And we just wanted to do the whole thing. We were excited for it as little girls. And when I hear of the experiences that people get when they visit other parts of the continent, the moment they mention that they're South African, I'm like, oh wow. Oh fucking wow. Because apparently people think like we're these people and we have these problems and we're doing this, all the while negating the fact that people come here and fuck shit up, mess up entire communities that people work hard to build, and we're just supposed to be like, it's fine, or we're all brothers and sisters, it ought to be fine. And this romantic notion of, you know, there weren't any borders, and he made this point as well, there weren't any borders before the whites got here, and this and that. But the point is, they're there now, and we're operating within the confines and the constructs that they put in place. And as long as we're saying we're functioning like that and recognizing that this river here means you're there, I'm here, we can't act like there shouldn't be rules about how you behave when you come to this side of the fence. We can't do that. Anyway, yeah, some of you are probably gonna like feel like, yo, did she really say? I said it. We're not xenophobic. We're not xenophobic. Like the Arabs said, you guys are fucking up, and you guys were like, yeah, yeah, we are fucking up. You guys stop fucking shit up for us. But then when we say it, it's, oh, look at these anti-black ones. Oh, anyway, bye.